Day 164, June 13th. Pure love, given to hospitality, Romans 12 verses 9 and 13. Let love be without dissimulation, given to hospitality, Romans 12 verses 9 and 13. Have you ever been a guest at someone's home and been overwhelmed by the warmth of welcome you received and the kindness with which you were attended to? Maybe the host offered to take your coat. Maybe they ensured that you received a refreshing beverage. Maybe they surprised you with something to eat or a gift to take with you. Whatever it was that the host did, you were touched by their hospitality. According to God's Word, this should be what everyone feels when they spend time with Christians. The love of Christians, being born from their rich love for Jesus, ought to surpass and outshine the generally expected hospitality of the culture. No one should spend time in our homes, our offices, our schools, or our churches without gaining a sense of our genuine care for them, interest in them not only by our attendance to their needs, but by our generosity which goes above and beyond what they would ever have expected. According to our verse, an important aspect of Christian love is that it is given to hospitality, Romans 12 verse 13. This means that we are to pursue and make the most of opportunities to express rich love towards our guests, whether they are believers or unbelievers. One of the most salient biblical examples of hospitality can be seen in the book of Genesis, where some unexpected visitors arrive at Abraham's tent. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and, lo, 3 men stood by him, and when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree, and I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts, after that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do, as thou hast said. Genesis 18 verses 1 to 5. Notice that, even though it was very hot outside, Abraham still wanted to show kindness to his visitors. The heat didn't stop him from begging them to let him serve them. Abraham wanted them to wash their feet, rest, and eat some bread. After hearing Abraham beg them to stay, the 3 men could not refuse. They decided to stay for a while and allow Abraham to serve them. Let's read what happens next from verse 6. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter, and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. Genesis 18 verses 6 to 8. If we were to read over this passage too quickly, we would likely miss a wonderful truth about Christian hospitality. Notice that Abraham offered his guests a morsel of bread, but then brought out a whole feast. How would it feel if someone begged us to come over their house for a snack, but then presented us with a banquet? It wasn't easy for Abraham to prepare this delightful meal. It took a lot of hard work. Abraham literally went out and slaughtered a cow and prepared it so that his guests might enjoy the best meal he could offer them. Abraham didn't limit his hospitality to what was convenient for him. On the contrary, he was willing to work hard to serve his guests with excellence. He didn't just bring out anything, but gave sacrificially. There is a reason why this is recorded in our Bible. God has given it to us as an illustration of what Christian hospitality should look like. Like Abraham, we should express our love by bringing out our best for our guests, serving them as if Jesus himself were visiting us, for it is him whom we serve in our service to all men. The greater our sacrifice to express hospitality to them, the more that the love of Christ is magnified through and the greater glory we bring to our Father in heaven. Abraham's example is one which we must all strive to pattern our own hospitality after. As it turns out, one of Abraham's guests was the Lord, and the other 2 were angels, Genesis 18:22, 19:1. The writer of Hebrews seems to refer to Abraham when he writes, Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. Hebrews 13 verse 2. Christians must show hospitality to all who come to us, save only those who pursue our harm, whether physically or spiritually. This exception to the rule is set forth explicitly by the Apostle John, who writes, "If there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. For he that biddeth him Godspeed is partaker of his evil deeds." 2 John 1 verses 10 to 11. See also 1 Corinthians 5 verses 11 and 2 Corinthians 6:14-16. It is not that we have no love towards those who are so deceived in their sins, but rather, the nature of love necessarily shifts from warm receiving to the open rebuke of their apostasy. This for the sake of their souls and the souls of all who follow them. Christian hospitality is expression of love aimed at pointing to the cross, not aiding and abetting those who trample on it. Far too many Christians today are failing to make this critical distinction. Some have gone so far as to say that, since Jesus was the friend of sinners, we ought to befriend any and all sinners. But Jesus was never the friend of unrepentant sinners. The Pharisees had been accusing Jesus of being the friend of sinners in order to paint him as a wicked man, Luke 7 verse 34. The only sinners Jesus has ever befriended have been repentant sinners. Jesus himself said, "Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you." John 15 verse 14. Certainly, we are to show great hospitality towards unbelievers as part of our witness, but not towards those who have risen up against the Lord, those who mock the faith, those who further the cause of sin and deception. Such hospitality, if anyone would call it such, would make us friends of the devil and enemies of God. It would be as the sin of Jehoshaphat, who became too friendly with the wicked king Ahab, 2 Chronicles 19 verse 2. It is not Christian hospitality to invite mockers and scoffers into our homes or churches. It is not Christian hospitality to invite them to a friendly discussion, a cordial debate, or a conference aimed at finding common ground. We must be harmless as doves, but wise as serpents, not being so naive as to ignore the reality of this great spiritual war that rages between the truth and error. Jesus said it this way, "Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." Matthew 10 verses 34 to 35. We must recognize that the enemies of truth, despite all of their friendliness and civility, are not harmless, for the lies they wield enchain souls and bring them down to hell. And we must engage with their lies, not accepting error, but exposing it as deceitful and destructive. Otherwise, we show hospitality to the devil. Our hospitality must not be exclusive to our close friends and relatives, but must also be extended toward strangers and those in need. In the prophecy of Isaiah, God reproves Israel for being zealous in their religious fasting and simultaneously careless towards those in need. His instruction to them was to share their food with the hungry, to bring the poor into their homes, and to clothe the naked, Isaiah 58 verse 7. Jesus gave similar instruction in the 14th chapter of Luke's Gospel. "When thou makest a dinner or a supper, call not thy friends, nor thy brethren, neither thy kinsmen, nor thy rich neighbors, lest they also bid thee again, and a recompense be made thee. But when thou makest a feast, call the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and thou shalt be blessed, for they cannot recompense thee, for thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just." Luke 14 verses 12 to 14. When it comes to Christian love, hospitality is easy to neglect. It is easy not to offer our guests a drink or something to eat. It is easy not to ensure that those who visit our church receive a warm welcome. It is easy to be hospitable only to our circle of friends, and to overlook those who are in need of our friendship. It is easy to isolate ourselves in our homes and never share our blessings with company. It is easy to be unkind to the stranger who shows up at our door. It is easy not to show respect for the elderly, not to honor those in authority, and not to thank those who have served us. In other words, it is easy to live in our own selfish world. But now, the love of God compels us to look beyond ourselves and to show hospitality to others as unto the Lord.